This is the best of the Rocker Morning Show with Meatball and Mark.
Richard, with Mark and Meatball. Okay.
Hey, how's it going, Richard?
Is this Meatball? Is this Mr. Meat?
This is Mark.
Mark, okay.
Yeah.
You ever get it confused as Meat and Mark Ball?
I'll tell you what, last week I called myself Mark Effect, and that is not my last name. Hey, when that alarm goes off at 3 in the morning, sometimes you can tell.
Absolutely.
Oh, man, you guys are coming to Michigan June 17th, the Fisher Theater in Detroit for the 50th anniversary tour. Welcome, Kansas guitarist Rich Williams. Welcome to the Rocker Morning Show, dude. Thanks for taking the time to hang out with us today.
Oh, thank you. Great to be here.
So, Rich, this is amazing, man. 50 years, Kansas still going strong. How excited are you for this tour?
I'm excited for any tour. But there's something a little bit special about the 5-0.
True.
There won't be another 50. This is the only time that the 50 will happen. And it's great because the record company put out the album Another Fork in the Road, which is a 3 CD set, that it covers our entire career. And so that's what the tour is going to do. So it's something a little bit different for us. And there's a tremendous buzz about this particular tour, so we're really looking forward to it.
Yeah, same here. And touching on that, too, with this set list that you said is going to span your entire career, are there going to be any kind of like deep cuts or maybe some tracks that you haven't visited in a while that you're going to kind of go back and revisit on the tour?
Exactly.
Awesome.
I'm sitting in my guitar room right now, and I'm relearning songs I haven't played in over 40 years.
Right, exactly. Yeah, because, when you're playing those songs regularly on tour, it's easy, but when you stop playing them, regularly for 30 years, you're like, I got to relearn this thing.
Well, again, we play a lot of notes, and
right.
It's hard to remember, the intricate, from hand positions to tones to all of those things from something you haven't played since 1975.
Yeah, very true. And going back to the beginning of Kansas, Kansas was a product of two bands in Topeka kind of joining forces. And it was your other current founding member, drummer Phil Ehart, that kind of recruited you into the band, wasn't it?
Oh, that is a very broad explanation. Phil and I played a band in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Called White Clover. But before that, me and Phil, our first band was called The Pets. So we played together in high school.
Okay, gotcha.
Then I went up to play in different bands. He was in different bands. And then there became what is kind of called Kansas One.
Right.
And I went back to college. And then that sort of didn't work out. Dave and Phil left that. And we started White Clover again. And then we added a violinist in Robbie Steinhardt.
Yeah. And
then we added Steve Walsh as vocalist keyboard player. Then we wrote a song called Can I Tell You, which got us a record deal with Don Kirshner.
Wow.
Terry Livgren still had another version of Kansas going, but they had stopped. Terry, we've got a record deal. How about joining us? Because Terry had so much great material.
Yeah. And
that's how the original six wound up recording the first album and onward. And that is even a very rough sketch. It's so complicated, I don't even know it.
Back then, too, it was a lot grungier than it is today. To get a record deal like that, especially, coming right out of the gate, landing a record deal, and then you guys really just taking off. And I think that's the thing that kind of makes Kansas so special, how your music, to today continues to thrive and stay relevant past 50 years. And we see Kansas in movies and shows like South Park and Supernatural. How crucial is it for your band to have these iconic songs featured in these shows?
Supernatural has been tremendous for us.
That's great.
You have 15 years of 10-year-old kids, 15-year-old kids that started watching that. They're now, in their 30s.
Yeah.
And they became Kansas fans because of Supernatural. And so that has added yet another couple of generations of Kansas fans to our audience. It's been fantastic. We went about 5 years ago. We played Comic-Con for Supernatural.
Oh, cool.
And got to know the guys, and two of the nicest, most unaffected, genuinely good guys. And we struck up a good friendship, and they actually wrote the final episode for us.
That's so cool.
And they constructed a bar and a stage and all that, and then we were getting ready to fly out to Vancouver to film it. When we got the phone call, turn around, don't get on the plane because you can't get into Canada.
Oh, gosh.
Because of COVID.
Yeah.
And they had to, it never got filmed, and they finally had to rewrite, create a different ending.
Oh, that's horrible. That's horrible. That would have been so.
But we did get to do one of the spin-offs from that. Is a show called Bucker.
Oh, okay.
The spin-off of. They got us back for that, and we were playing it in Austin City Limits, that venue, and so they shoot that show in Austin, so they had us there instead, and that was fantastic.
That's really cool. Yeah, that's such a crucial connection to make, too. And you mentioned earlier the 3-disc compilation that came out a couple weeks ago, like about a month or so ago. It was Another Fork in the Road, 50 Years of Kansas. This is a really cool collection. It's rare that a band will re-record a track, but you guys actually did that specifically for this collection, right?
Yeah, we are just as we're talking about what can we do different.
Yeah. And
Phil and I were talking, said, well, Can I Tell You is the song that brought us to the table.
Yeah.
That was the only song that Kirshner really liked when he signed us to our label. And so we thought, since they always want something new besides what is around, let's do a re-record of that. And plus, since things were kind of shut down, let's do it from home.
Yeah.
Let's see how that process will work. So Phil went into the studio we used in Atlanta, did the drum tracks, and then the rest of us, I cut all my guitar tracks right where I'm sitting now in my guitar studio. And so it was a fun project, twofold, because we wanted this on the record. And then looking at the future, can we do this?
Yeah.
Can we record in this fashion? And it was so much fun to coordinate it in that fashion. So that's what we did. And so we wanted to bookend the 50 years by the first song that got us here, but with a modern version of it.
That's cool. That's kind of like what Chicago was doing during the pandemic, too. And they did something similar when they re-released 25 or 6 to 4, and they kind of modernized it for the time, too. And I think it's great. I think the new version is just as strong as the original version. I was actually talking with Meatball about this, too, about your other project, Native Window. I was curious if you were going to be doing anything with that in the future after the tour or anything, or if that was just kind of a one-off.
That was a one-off, and really that was just born out of utter frustration.
Yeah.
After we did an album in 2000, and Kerry Livgren, who was not in the band anymore, but he had a bunch of material, and he has a studio back in Kansas, and he said, "Oh, but he said if we just did another Kansas album here at my studio, I've got a bunch of material." And so we said, "Sure, that sounds great." We weren't that busy at the time. That was kind of before classic rock was on the rebound.
Yeah.
And we did that. But since then, he has voiced he does not want to write any more material for Kansas. And, hopefully one day he might change his mind. But
yeah.
And Steve Walsh also has said, I don't want to write any more material. So for 16 years, we didn't get to record really anything, although we did an album with the London Symphony Orchestra.
True.
But that was just a way of reinventing ourselves and gave us an opportunity to play with symphonies around the country. But it wasn't until Steve Walsh retired that all of a sudden, with Ronnie Platt, and things changed. It's like, hey guys, what do you think about recording? Sure, why not?
Yeah.
Also, it was, what do you think? Steve had been losing his voice for a while, and there were certain songs he wouldn't sing anymore. It was just too hard for him. So suddenly, the whole catalog was wide open. What about this song? Sure, let's do that. And we found a new freedom within the new organization.
Gotcha.
And so now we're recording. Now we're playing any song in the catalog that we want to.
Yeah.
So things just changed a lot after that and revitalized us completely. This last 8 years have been, especially the last 3 or 4, have been the best in my career.
That's great. Man, I love hearing that. Well, dude, this is going to be an excellent tour. They're going to be in town in Michigan, June 17th, Fisher Theater in Detroit for the 50th anniversary. Rich Williams, good luck to you guys. Yeah, I hope you guys have a great tour, and thanks so much for hanging out with us today, dude.
Great. Thank you so much, Mark.
Live weekday mornings from 6 to 10 and on demand in the Rocker app. It's the best of the Rocker Morning Show on 107.7 RKR.